Donald Trump has canceled all events at the White House and all events in general from his schedule for the next 3 days. No events scheduled today, all events canceled. No events on Saturday, all events canceled. No events on Sunday, all events on his schedule canceled. And then on Thursday, he had all events closed to the press. This, as we saw Donald Trump rapidly, physically, and cognitively deteriorate on what was the most disastrous NATO summit in the history of any United States president attending such an event, or any international event ever attended by the United States president. Donald Trump looked sickly and weak and absolutely pathetic, and now he's all alone, rotting away in the White House while the reflecting pool is still green, filled with algae, as the other fountains that Donald Trump claims he's filled up around Washington, D.C. have now all turned brown, as the White House looks like a literal junkyard. And now he is putting up tarp over the columns at the White House because he wants to make the columns into a Corinthian style. That's what this loser is doing all alone while he depletes our strategic petroleum reserves. He has scaffolding and tarp, the semi-transparent tarp, and he continues to put the lettering on the White House to tell him where he needs to go because he has no clue where he is. So he needs to put up signs that say, West Wing, this way, Donald. This way, Donald. That's what the president of the United States is doing. How sad, how pathetic. And Netanyahu is getting in Donald Trump's ear, chirping, you need to go back to war, Donald. Iran wants to kill you, Donald. They want to assassinate you, Donald. That's what Netanyahu's been saying. I mean, look, if you looked at the massive processions for the Ayatollah in Iran and in Iraq, where there were tens of millions of people who showed up to mourn Ayatollah Khomeini, who was killed by the Trump regime, along with his daughter, son-in-law, granddaughter, and others in his family. You saw all those signs that said, you saw what the sign said, threatening Donald Trump's life, threatening Donald Trump's life, threatening Donald Trump's life, threatening Donald Trump's life. And then the coup de grace, quite literally the coup de grace, they did it with the massive Lego float. They pulled out a massive Trump Lego float and burned it down in the Mashhad area in Iran right before the Ayatollah was buried. I'm going to share this with you, the Lego Trump burning down in Mashhad by Iranians. Let's play it right here. Then I'll show you I'm going to fast forward here. You'll see the end right here where that Lego Trump was burned down, and you can see it kind of fall to the ground and its charred remains all over the floor. Here, play this clip.
شعله حسدشه این چند روز دید آقای ما رو هر جایی میبرن یه جوری عزت و احترام میذارن.
Now, while Donald Trump has canceled all events and while he is in hiding in the White House, I think it is important to not forget that Trump's ICE and Border Patrol Gestapo are still out there hunting and killing people in the United States, throwing people in concentration camps. Our hearts at the MeidasTouch Network go out to the family of Lorenzo Salgado Araujo, who was murdered in cold blood by ICE Gestapo in Houston, Texas on the morning of July 7th around 7 a.m. Lorenzo Salgado Araujo lived in the United States for about 35 years. Every day he woke up at 5 a.m. where he worked in construction to support his family, his sons who were all American citizens. His nickname was El Mundo Entero, meaning the whole world, and he was murdered in cold blood by ICE. ICE took away all his belongings, called him a John Doe, so his family couldn't even get his body to identify him, while ICE tried to engage in a cover-up. Well, Lorenzo's family hired lawyers, and there have been great investigative journalists out there in Houston, and they found out, and DHS, ICE, had to admit that Lorenzo Salgado Rojo was not their target, that they made a mistake. They were looking, they claim, for Guatemalan immigrants who they said were committing crimes, and they went after and targeted Lorenzo Salgado Rojo, and they killed him in cold blood and then covered it up, and now they're trying to deport all of the witnesses. Let me just share with you, while cowardly, sickly, disgusting, Donald Trump is hiding all alone, rotting away like the filthy creature he is in the White House. Let me share with you what Lorenzo Salgado Rojo's son had to say the other day. And their legal team, by the way, was on Katie Fang's YouTube channel. Shout out to Katie. Here, play this clip.
I am calling for a full investigation into the events that transpired yesterday, July 7th. He did not deserve to die. He did not deserve to be reduced to a headline of Mexican man shot and killed by ICE. He deserved to live a quiet life as Lorenzo Salgado Araujo, a husband, a father, and a job creator for dozens of men who also wanted the American dream.
That's right.
I would be doing his memory a disservice if I didn't recognize the other three men who were with him, one of which was my uncle. All three men were rounded up. I have not heard from them, but I hope that they are able to provide their own statements to prove that my father feared for his life as unmarked cars followed my dad, who only wanted to get back to work and back to us.
Now, talking about Katie Fang and other MeidasTouch co-hosts, Scott McFarlane, who runs our Washington. We have the best team at the MeidasTouch thing. By the way, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Help us get to 7 million subscribers. Scott McFarlane, who runs our Washington, D.C. bureau, he showed up at the reflecting pool to see if it was still green, filled with algae. I will give you a spoiler alert. It is still green. It is still filled with algae. It still is disgusting. Here, play this clip.
Welcome back to the Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool, which has retained its very swampy green-like color. It's still fenced off. It's still inaccessible. It's still not in its best shape. It is reflecting again, but it's almost like quarantined in its green-like state. In the meantime, there are battles over this reflecting pool in court. Two big ones, including the case of David Hearn, the former Olympian who has just pleaded not guilty to alleged destruction of the pool. His attorneys were dunking all over that case outside the courthouse as David Hearn received a hero's welcome from the crowd here.
Also disgusting, Trump's other fountains are now, they look like, I don't want to say what they look like, but they're filled with brown goo. Let's just say that. Here, I'm going to say the other thing. Here, play this clip. Should also be noted, talking about the Trump regime rot and just how horrible they are about everything. So the National Guard made a decision, the smart decision, the right decision, to discipline 8 Apache pilots who basically flew 10 feet off the ground at the Salute from the Shore flyover in South Carolina, which could be very, very dangerous. Could have killed somebody. Even if you're a skilled pilot, I know we have lots of people in the military who watch this. You know you don't do that. I mean, that's like kind of 101. And so they were suspended. Then all the right-wing sycophants on social media were like, what on earth? The National Guard suspended the 8 pilots of the Apache helicopter that flew on the Salute for Shore flyover. No reason was given for their suspension. A source says as soon as the pilots landed, they got message saying they were suspended pending investigations. What did they do? There are rules. We're supposed to be a law and order, rule-based society, but we're not. After they were suspended, Pete Hegseth goes, "We'll fix this. Carry on. Carry on, patriots. Carry on, patriots." I mean, could we just get back to normalcy? Can we get back to truth and accurate data? I mean, why do we wake up every day with headlines like this? U.S. Department of Agriculture had to revise its late June U.S. beef export numbers down 90%. Quite the error. The U.S. Department of Agriculture dramatically lowered its reported beef export sales for late June on Thursday, sparking fresh concerns about the quality of the agency's data after staffing losses as part of the Trump regime's reshaping of the federal government. USDA said exporters in late June sold a net 12,064 metric tons of U.S. beef to foreign buyers, 90% lower than the volume it originally reported a week ago. Traders had largely dismissed the USDA's initial report as inaccurate. Just think about that. All of the data coming out from this Trump regime, essentially fabricated, false, but that shouldn't surprise us. Donald Trump was brought to a massive civil trial because he inflated and deflated and made up numbers. I mean, does it really shock us when he's out there saying, "I brought in $19.2 trillion. I've reduced drug prices 800%. When you buy medication, they pay you $800 for a $1 medication right now, all because of my MAGA policies right there." That's the worst Trump voice ever, but $19.1 trillion I brought in. That's why the deficit keeps on increasing. That's why we keep on putting on more debt into because I brought in $19.1 trillion. You don't know where it is. It's super secret. Nobody knows where, except for me, because no one knows like hiding money like me. Nobody knows how to hide it. Nobody knows about nuclear. Nobody knows about anything. I mean, how do we let this idiotic thing, this creature, this grotesque thing in the White House right now? But there he is, all alone, rotting away, probably saying, "You want to make a deal with me, Iran? Iran, you want to do a deal? I do deals. I do deals. I do deals. Deals. Deal this, deal that, deal up, deal down, deal right, deal left, deal clown, deal deal." That's my Dr. Seuss deal. I mean, I do deals. Before I did the MeidasTouch Network, I worked with some of the top deal makers in this country at the highest level. They don't go around saying, "I do deals. I do deals. I'm a deal guy. I do deals." Here was Donald Trump. CNN did a good supercut of him saying, I did a deal with Iran. They want to do a deal with me. Here, play this clip.
They want to make a deal.
And they want to make a deal so badly.
They want to make a deal so badly. I do see a deal in Iran. It's looking very good that we're going to make a deal. This process should go very quickly. We're going to end that war very quickly. We're in the final throes of what will be a very, very good deal. And they want to make the deal a lot more than I do. We have our deal done with Iran, and it should be successful. We're making an amazing deal with Iran. They want to make a deal with us very badly. They're dying to make a deal. They're giving us a lot. They want to make a deal so badly.
Jonah Goldberg.
I don't want to show these clips, but yesterday you then had Treasury Secretary Bessent. While Americans are suffering, he spent the day in Tennessee, naming a bridge after Donald Trump.
The people of Tennessee have bestowed this great honor, and why there is no one more deserving of it than Donald J. Trump. From this day forward, every driver that encounters this bridge will see that it bears his name, because he has never stopped fighting for the people who travel on it, because he has made their cause his own. That is a legacy Tennesseans have chosen to commemorate this morning, and it is a story that the stretch of I-40 will tell for generations to come.
You had Eric Trump at Palm Beach Airport, which they're now naming Donald Trump Airport.
we had tremendous support. I mean, absolutely tremendous support. Even all 5 airlines that come out of Palm Beach Airport, they all signed on to it. So, Delta, United, American Airlines, JetBlue, Southwest, they all signed on to it. They love the name change. And so now at the top of your ticket, instead of seeing PBI, you're going to see DJT in perpetuity. And as I said before, guys, I mean, my father really put Palm Beach on the map in a way. I mean, everybody considers Mar-a-Lago to be the winter White House. There's probably no person in the world that's flown into this airport more times than Donald Trump. And, it's rare that you come into this airport where you don't see that plane.
He's got to plaster his name onto everything as he rots away and as he withers away and as he's clearly terrified. But I'll leave you with this. Democratic Congress member Adam Smith, he's asked a question by Caitlin Collins about, do you think Donald Trump is too obsessed with some of these renovation projects? It's kind of a rhetorical question. And Congressman Smith's like, yeah, I do. It's not normal behavior in a democracy in a country like this. It's very weird. Yet the MAGA sycophants, where are you, MAGA? I mean, y'all are in many ways even worse than Trump. Like these MAGA people who have normalized all of this stuff. And by the way, did you see that guy, MAGA Republican Congress member Crawford, who heads the intelligence community, who even after those crowds of millions of people at the Ayatollah's funeral in Iran and Iraq is like, that's astroturfed. That's not real. They want Donald Trump in Iran. They're begging Trump, Netanyahu, can you come to Iran and rule us, please? Just like, who are these people? Who are these people? Anyway, let me show you Democratic Congress member Smith. Let's play it.
We didn't hear from the president today. He was behind closed doors. He just posted tonight only once. But on Iran, I mean, obviously he did have a call with the prime minister of Israel behind closed doors. The major activity at the White House, at least in front of the cameras, seem to be the renovations that are now underway on those columns on the North Portico. And Doug Burgum said that it was personally instructed by President Trump to do that. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I'm not really focused on the renovation issues. Much more focused on the diplomacy of the war in Iran.
Do you think the president is too focused on that?
Yes, I think that, and that's an understatement. He seems obsessed with remaking everything, from the White House to the reflecting pool to his new arch to the Kennedy Center. Look, this is not what a democratically elected president in a representative democracy should be focused on. This is much more what an authoritarian dictator would be focused on, how to basically build up his own personal ego and put his stamp on everything. President Trump and this administration needs to get back to the business of dealing with the issues that American people care about. The cost of housing, the cost of food, the cost of gas, all of these things that are healthcare, energy, all of these things are where our focus should be. The president has sitting on his desk a housing bill that is bipartisan, bicameral, that could really help reduce the cost of housing. He's not signing it. He's not dealing with it. So yes, he needs to get off of the renovation and focus on the very real problems that people in this country are facing and that he was elected to deal with.
There you have it, everybody. Let me know what you think. As I said earlier, hit subscribe. Help us get to 7 million subscribers. Thanks for watching. New Meidas merch. Head to store.meidastouch.com today and get yourself the best pro-democracy gear and show your support. That's store.meidastouch.com.